Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Fundy Motorsports Magazine. I'm Dave Hanlon, and on today's show we've got some great motorsports action for you. In addition to talking to Guy Hunnewell of Hunnewell Valley, Maine, we'll have our calendar of events and update you on the Moosehead point standings at Hammond River Raceway. But to start the show off, we'll be talking to Brian Ferguson and his segment called Shop Talk. And on today's Shop Talk segment, Brian will be telling us about indicators and warning lights on the everyday driving car.
You know, there's a lot of things that have changed in today's cars, especially around the instrument panel, that you may not be used to seeing. Some of the instrumentation and the warning lights can be quite important to the operation of the car and also your own personal safety. Now, what I want to do is just try to explain some of these gauges and some of these warning lights, what they mean, and what to do if you see them come on. Okay, we'll begin in this corner with what's called the check engine light. There's a small symbol of an engine and a check written right across it. It's an amber light. Generally, if you see warning lights that are amber in color, they are usually meant much the same as the universal language of an amber light, meaning yield, caution, hazardous, where on the other hand, a red light means stop. So, first of all, the check engine light, what that's connected to is the fuel injection system. They've used it on many different manufacturers, imports and domestics, and if you see the check engine light come on, then it indicates that there's a problem in the fuel injection system. It may not necessarily render your car inoperative, but you should take it directly to the nearest service center to have it looked at, because you may have a problem which could snowball and cause more damage. It's not safety related as far as braking, suspension, that sort of thing. It's just that it may cost some large dollars if you don't get it looked at right away. Directly underneath it, we see a red light, which has a picture of an oil can on it, which is your engine oil light. Now, if this oil light comes on while the engine is running, then you should immediately turn the key off, shut that engine down, because what the light is doing is hooked to an oil pressure switch, which comes on when the oil pressure becomes too low to safely lubricate your engine. So if you run the engine with the oil light on, you could be looking at an engine job, you could burn it up, and that could be quite costly. One directly down below that is the charge warning light, which on this particular one is a battery. It's a red light again. It is connected to the charging system. Whenever the alternator is not providing output, that light will come on, and it's a warning to say your car may stall on you, you may lose power, you may shut it off and not be able to get it going again. It could be safety related if you happen to be trying to pull out and pass somebody, or your windshield wipers may not work anymore, or your lights may go out on you. So if that light comes on, you should shut her down and have somebody look at it. Find out why this light is on. It could be dangerous. Back up on the top right hand side again, this is simply an indicator light for the rear defroster to tell you that it's on. Now, there's nothing safety related to it. It's just an indicator to tell you. Next one down is a blue light, which is one of the standard colors which they tend to use for your high beam headlights. That's just to tell you your high beams are on. You know, dim them when there's another car coming or coming up behind somebody as a courtesy. One below that is a picture of a round circle with shoes on either side of it. What it's trying to represent is a brake drum. That is a warning telling you that there is a problem in the brake lights, or sorry, in the brake circuit. It could be your parking brake is on. It could also mean that you have a low fluid level. Could mean that you have a pressure loss, depending on the type of setup they happen to be using. It is a red warning light, and if this light comes on, you should stop the vehicle, try to find out the reason why is it on. Why is the parking brake dragging? Or if it's a problem of pressure, you may lose your brake pedal and it's not safe to drive. One down below that again is a green light, and it's simply a low fuel warning. It's a picture of a fuel pump. It's to tell you that you are going to run out of gas. You should get over it, get some more fuel into your car before you run out. You don't want to be stranded on the side of the highway because of something like running out of gas. This first gauge we see here on the left is called a tachometer. What the tachometer does is measures engine speed in revolutions per minute. Now as I start this up, you'll see it come up. And now it's showing somewhere in the neighborhood of 1200 RPM, which means that the engine crankshaft is turning 1200 times per minute. You'll notice on tachometers that they have a red line. The red line is the maximum safe operating revolution for the engine. You should never take the engine over red line. You could be in for some very costly damage. We also have the fuel gauge, which is self-explanatory. The temperature gauge, which they use different types of symbols. This particular one is a thermometer, which is pretty standard. The gauge should never be allowed to get up to the hot. It should normally run in the center third area of the gauge would be the normal operating range after the vehicle is warmed up. If you see it heading towards the hot, you should shut the vehicle down. Never ever open the radiator cap when that gauge is hot. You could get scalded, and the same would be the case anytime that other than cold engine. You should not open that radiator cap. You could be looking for some serious damage. Next one over is the speedometer, which has both a speedometer, which reads speed in miles per hour or kilometers. The odometer, which is located in the middle, tells the amount of mileage which the vehicle has traveled since it was put into operation, or since this speedometer was put in. Down on the bottom we have twin trip meters. What they are for is, for example, if you wanted to check your fuel mileage, or you wanted to check the distance which you've traveled, say going on a trip, you would simply push the button, which resets it to 0, and then you drive. When you get to your destination, you can see how far you have traveled, and if you want to make any calculations, then you know the mileage then. You know how far you have traveled. And this particular vehicle uses an electronically controlled automatic transmission. We also have a warning light here called AT oil temperature. That's to tell you that the transmission fluid is overheating. It's a red light. Once again, a red light means stop. If that red light comes on, you are overheating. You should stop driving, put it in the neutral or park position, and run it on fast idle just for a minute or two. See if the light goes out. If it doesn't, you better shut her down, get her towed, because you are overheating the transmission. We also have an ABS warning light. It may say ABS, it may say rear anti-lock. There's many different terms. It's usually a green light, and it's for the anti-lock braking system. On this particular truck, it's a rear anti-lock system. If the light comes on, then it's telling you that that anti-lock system is not functioning. You will still have your normal braking with this type of system, providing it's only a green light or a yellow light. But it's telling you that the anti-lock system is not working, and under a heavy braking stop, the wheels may lock. Another important thing I'd like to mention is that when you first turn the key to the on position before starting the engine, and in some cases while cranking, all of the warning lights should come on and prove out. What this means is that the bulbs are being checked. It's called the bulb check function, or prove out. It's to make sure that this is working. Because, for example, if you had a burnout light bulb, you don't see it come on before you start the engine, then if you were to lose oil pressure, the light's still not going to work if it's burned out, and you would have no way of knowing. So it's important when you first turn the car to the on position before starting, have a look, make sure that all of your warning lights do come on. Some of them are timed. They may only come on for a couple of seconds. Some may only come on when you're in the start position, such as temperature gauge or temperature warning lights and that sort of thing. But always check to see that they are working before starting the engine. You should be able to become familiar with your own vehicle usually, and you'll know which ones come on when the key's on, which ones come on when you're in the start position, and they all should go out again after the engine is started. That way you're sure that if there is a problem, the bulbs work, they're going to tell you, they're going to give you some sort of warning. Here's a few other things which we couldn't see on the other vehicle. On this particular one, besides all the lights such as check engine, brake oil, etc., we also have an airbag, which at this time is flashing, but it is once again a red light because of the safety warning involved. If this airbag light is on while the car is operating, it's telling you that the airbag system is not working, and if you do have a head-on collision, it may not deploy, and it may result in more injuries which you would have gotten had it worked. I said they make it red because of the safety issue involved. You should take it into your dealer to have it looked at. Never ever probe anything in the airbag system with a test light or with a meter. It can only be done with special equipment. It could cause personal injury, and it is definitely not safe to do. What you may happen is you may deploy the bag when you don't want it to, and it causes a really loud bang, which in a collision you don't hear because of the shock of the collision anyway. It takes just a fraction of a second for this bag to come out and fall back down on your lap again, because you only need it for that split second of impact. Once again, take heed to its warning. If that light is on, you should have it serviced. It can save your life. Over the airbag light, we have the security light. Some vehicles such as this, luxury models, come with a security system. It's a green light. It's not something that's safety related. It's simply just that if somebody was to break into your car, it would set off the horn and the alarm and the lights and all that sort of thing. It's different on each model of car, so you'd have to check your own owner's manual or contact the dealer who services your car if you're not familiar with exactly what it's doing. But on this particular model, a flashing light is simply to tell you that the door is open, or you have a trunk open, or something along that line. When it is armed, the light will come on steady for 30 seconds, and then it goes out. One other light which I haven't mentioned yet is the seatbelt warning light. That is a reminder for you to fasten your seatbelt. Seatbelts do save lives, and even with systems where you have airbags, it is not effective unless you wear your seatbelt. So take heed to its warning and drive safely.
Thanks a lot, Brian. One thing you always should remember for those watching is, like Brian said, always wear your seatbelt. They do save lives. Now, the Moosehead point standings at Hammond River Raceway. We'll start out with the Bomber class. In first place, it's car number 13, Kevin Esty. For 3 weeks, he has an average of 33.3 at 100 points even. In second place, car number 52, Ron Enkel. At 3 weeks, 32.3 average and 97 points in total. In the third place, it's car number 3, Steve McHugh, with a 96-point total. And Jim Humble Jr. with car number 00 is at an average of 31.7 at 95 points. John Robichaud is next in car number 33. He has an average of 29 even and 87 points. Colin Cassidy also has 87 points. James Tays is next, driving car number 4. He has a 25.3 average and 76 points in total. With 70 points in total, Randy Moore, driving car number 34 at 22.3 average. And Daryl Campbell, driving car number 89, and he has 67 points in total. Chris Duncan, driving car number 79, has 58 points in total and an average of 29 even. Now the Moosehead point standings for the Sportsman's class. Starting off our list at number 1, car number 9, Les Lamb, driving for 3 weeks. He has an average of 44 and 132 points. Steve Rogers is next, driving car number 42 with a 36.3 average. He has 109 points. At 105 points, Chris Brine is next. He has an average of 35 even. He drives car number 10. Car number 27, Bill Somerville, is right after Chris. He has an average of 44 even and a total points of 88 with 80 points under his belt. and an average of 26.7. Dana Duncan, driving car number 79, is next. Car number 50 with Scott Smith in the driver's seat, driving for 3 weeks, has an average of 20.7 and a total point standing of 62. With a total point standing of 49 and an average of 24.5, Dusty McLeod is after Scott, and he's driving car number 71. Driving car number 80, it's Paul Burke with a 23 average and 46 points in total. Brian Campbell's next, driving car number 5 with a 15.5 average and 31 points in total. Brian's only been driving for 2 weeks. Ray Cale, also for 2 weeks, has a 9.5 average and 19 points in total. He drives car number 12. And tied with Ray in, well, we can't really say last place, but because he's tied. He drives car number 2. It's Rick Cashall. He has a 9.5 average and also 19 points. And now the Fundy Motorsports Magazine calendar of events. Coming up July 4th at Petty Raceway. Starting time is 7 p.m. It's the second leg of the Budman MassCar Racing Series, and accompanying the MassCar drivers will be the Eastern Mini Stocks. They'll also be at Petty Raceway July 4th, starting at 7 p.m. With me in the studio today is Guy Hunnewell. Of course, Guy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
And the reason we have Guy here is because he's, how should we put this, a very, well, other than an instigator, we'll say, he's a very important man down in a part of Maine. So I guess, Guy, tell us where you're from first.
Well, if you just head on over the airline to Bangor, that's the shortest way, and go 70 miles west, right towards Skowhegan and up towards Sugarloaf, and you won't miss it. Big old field, the farm been sitting there since about 1750, and in the big 100-acre field, you'll find the finest off-road racing in the United States.
And that's what it is quoted as.
That's right.
The nation's most complete off-road track.
Other promoters marvel at what we do in an event because we have almost a non-stop event. It'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning and it'll run right through till the nighttime. So nobody was going to get bored at Hunnewell Valley. There's something for everybody.
Now, what type of tracks do you have there?
Well, we have a full mud bog. It's a 300-foot pit. We have a full 300-foot pulling track. We have the monster truck racing course. And what's unique about all of these particular race tracks in our facility is the shutdown area. We've got 500 or 600 feet of shutdown. Now, if you compare that to things you normally see inside a civic center or stuff like that, our shutdown is 3 times as long as what their complete race facility is inside the building, which means when these boys race, they don't slow up until after they go through the finish line.
So you get to see a lot of basically high-profile racing down in Hunnewell Valley.
You see the best there is in the nation, plus we have the classes for all the local boys, too. They can come right off the street and race, too. So
now, how did Hunnewell Valley become incorporated?
Well, a long time ago, when the mud runs first moved up into Maine back in about 1980, 81, somebody suggested I put in a mud run. Well, I had a little swale on one end of the field, and I can't cut hay in a swale, and I figured I'd put the trucks in there. We worked for about a month and a half cutting alders and got it all cleared out, and on a Friday night we brought a big truck in to try it. It went 30 feet. And we decided nobody wanted to see a truck go just 30 feet. So the guy working with me said, what are we going to do? We've got to tell everybody not to come. And I said, how are you going to let 2,000 people know we're not going to come? We don't know who's coming. We're going to have a mud run. So I went down the next morning, 4:30 in the morning, with a big full-bottom plow on some of my nicest field. I plowed a strip 100 yards by 30 feet wide. Sunday, that was where the mud run was, and it's been ever since, and now considered one of the finest mud bogs in the United States.
And one thing I should mention about Hunnewell Valley, it's even got a basketball court.
Oh yes, yeah, we have a mud basketball court.
A mud basketball
That's about
court.
that much mud. Only one rule change. It's not complicated. You just don't dribble.
Okay, so you just carry the ball down.
You carry the ball. You either shoot it or you pass it. When you stop, you got to do one or the other.
So you could basically call it a form of basketball-football combination.
Well, yeah, but
in a sort of way.
We don't want you to tackle somebody. If you did, it'd be a little slimy, you know. You'd slide off and they keep on going. We made national television with the TNN coast to coast. They wanted the fun of Hunnewell Valley, and that's one thing they wanted, along with the ladies' 100-yard mud dash.
Of course,
Yep.
Yes, can't forget that. Okay, what type of events do you hold down in your tracks, or should I say have held down in the tracks?
Well, we started out a mud bog in 81. In 86, we gave birth to the New England 4x4 Jamboree, which then included the mud bog and the 2-lane drag strip, which is a sand drag, 100 yards with timing lights, handicap system, the whole works. In '88, we put in a pole track, and that's the only foreign soil in Hunnewell Valley. We cut out 2.5 feet of our topsoil, which incidentally is 10 to 15 feet deep in that valley. And we laid in 2.5 feet of brown clay. And John Ellenbaum, who was named the #1 pull sled operator in the United States for 1991, says of Hunnewell Valley, it's one of the finest tracks he's ever worked. And he's a standard sled for us for the last 3 years. He'll be back this year.
Good, good stuff. Now, you said off camera that you're going to have 2 new events down in Hunnewell Valley. This is something you were kind of iffy on, but want to tell us about them?
Well, we're breaking new, shall we say, water.
Okay. Okay.
The overflow from my farm pond went down a little finger of water through the middle of the field, about 400 or 500 feet. And so this year we're widening it to 40 feet by 500 feet by 5 feet deep. And it's the 100-yard paddle dash for canoes. We supply the canoes, we supply the oars, double elimination. Whoever wins takes home a canoe. Beautiful old town canoe. Well, then the jet ski boy said, well, what about us? I said, well, what about you? So we're going to have jet ski and wave runner racing on the same track, 100 yards.
Not at the same time, though.
No, we won't mix those together.
Shoot. Now that would be something to say.
But anybody can bring the jet ski or the wave runner in here. And I guess it's going to be a new form of racing. I was talking with the home office of Yamaha in California a few days ago. And they said, "Guy, we've never heard of it. Doesn't mean it won't work." And I said, well, generally things in Hunnewell Valley work. We're going to have fun with it.
Oh, yeah, that's the main thing.
That's right.
You got to have fun.
You got to have fun.
You can have mud basketball. You can have canoe drag racing.
That's right.
Why not?
Put it all together.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the big events that you do have coming up very, very shortly is the Triple Crown Series. And you were saying it's the first ever. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yes. We've had monster trucks ever since '85. We brought Bigfoot in. We raced him 3 years in the mud and on the drag strip. And then we've had car crushing, for instance. The local people saw Carolina Crusher this weekend. And he was at our place last year when his truck was new, the new racing truck. So it's his second season with that truck. I've got a little letter here that he sent me the other day, and it might be interested in seeing what one of the drivers thinks of Hunnewell Valley. He says, I've been to a lot of different racetracks, fairgrounds, and different types of places to race throughout the U.S. and Canada in the past 7 years. Yours is one of the best. And what he's referring to is it's wide open competition. When they come to me, I don't even look at the contract. I said, have fun. If you got an idea, you tell me about it. If it's safe and we can fit it in, we'll do it. And that's what makes our facility so popular.
That's the kind of promoter you really need. And of course that letter comes from Gary Porter.
That's right.
The driver and owner of Carolina Crusher.
Oh, Carolina Crusher.
That's great. That's great. So we look forward to seeing that. It's the Motocross 92.
That's right.
Now, what's that consist of?
Well, it is a motocross with the different divisions from 85cc right up to the 125cc's and Duro bikes and things like that. But what makes it different is at our facility, you can sit in the bleachers and see the complete run. We had to do almost nothing to the facility to put right in the middle of the facility where all the mud runs and everything else is, a motocross. We have 8 natural jumps, a natural tabletop. We have a camber, and people that are in motocross racing know what I'm talking about on these different things.
We've done a couple motocross shows here.
And they're a lot of fun.
We've gone into depth with them.
Well, you know, when you watch motocross, it may not be quite the spectator event in a lot of areas because people don't know about it or the facility doesn't accommodate the spectator. But these guys, I watched some kids this weekend, 7 and 8 years old, out there puttering around with their little small motocross, and it was just beautiful. And they learn no fear, yet again, they're athletic, they're agile, they take the tumbles and get right up and go, and it's amazing what they can do.
A lot of people don't realize that those small little motocross really do go pretty fast.
They go, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Now, one other thing you have going on, and I know you've had these before, is the All Bikers Summer Jamboree.
Yes. Once a year, we hold a 2-day motorcycle show, and the Harleys and Hondas and the Suzukis, they come from all over. And when I say all over New England, and we'll probably see some out of Canada too. And we do with the motorcycles what we do with trucks. We have a pull sled. The Great American Rodeo comes in, Chuck Smith with his pull sled. So we put them right on the pull track. We race them in the mud. They love that drag strip. And I was kidding the other day. I was driving down the road, and at a motorcycle shop that was closed, there's a whole bunch of Harleys sitting there. So I swung in, and there's this one Harley with a gas tank about that wide. And I just kidding, I says, got enough gas? And the guy piped up, he's got a V8 in it. He had a V8 engine, Chevrolet block. He made a motorcycle. And so I kidded with him, and I said, well, when you come up this year, you can leave your tires at home. And he didn't know what I was talking about. So I led him on a little bit. And then I told him about the jet ski and wave running. He said, oh, yeah? So motorcycle people like all kinds of things besides motorcycles. So the All Bikers Jamboree, from the weenie roast to the barrel roll and all those things, they'll have those things to go too. And we got bands coming and the whole works.
Well, that's great.
Plus the pig roast.
A pig roast. Can't forget that.
I like those.
I'll have to go down and see that.
Well, we'd like to have you.
And when is the, well, the big event, of course, is the Triple Crown Series, and that's coming up when?
Well, that's a three-part series. During the New England 4x4 Jamboree, July 3, 4, and 5, is the first part of the Monster Truck Racing Series. And what we've got, the top trucks in the U.S., we've got the Equalizer, which many people know that name. He's the one that showed even Bigfoot and the rest how to race with the new suspension a few years ago in the TNT Series.
I remember that.
Okay?
Yeah.
He'll be there. Gary Porter with his Carolina Crusher. Black Stallion, who was here this weekend, is scheduled in. Playing for Keeps is coming. We've got the Jersey Outlaw, Goliath's Revenge. So we're running 6 trucks in the series. And the second part of that series comes in August during our U.S.-Canadian Off-Road Open. That's where we reach across the border to our friends in Canada, New Brunswick and Quebec, for kind of an international show. And that is also the time that we have the second part of the Monster Truck Racing Series and the NMRO All-Star Nationals. These are the fastest mud races in the world. And we're the only facility in the Northeast that's over a $30,000 purse for mud running. And there's a bunch from Moncton, Hot Dog, and the Lone Ranger, and a few of those boys that have been down for the last few years. They love it. And then our final is during our Labor Day in Maine, the 5th and 6th, of the Triple Crown Racing. We have a second Triple Crown, too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Truck-to-trailer trucks, right off the street. Leave your box, pull up to the line side-by-side, drag racing. This is our 6th year of doing that. And the guys love it. The people like to see the big trucks go.
Yeah.
But it's not a special race truck. It's the guy's truck that he drives every day, and we haven't had a single breakage in 6 years. So if a guy's worried about breaking his truck and going to work, so far that hasn't been a problem.
That's great. Well, Guy, it's been nice having you here.
It's been a pleasure.
And hopefully we'll get down to see, if not all, most of the events, because I know one thing I do want to see is the canoe drag racing. I've got to see that.
Well, one thing we tell people, bring a raincoat, we run rain or shine. But bring suntan lotion, too. Bring your camera, and then the last thing you do, you go back to the store and buy about 5 times as much film as you thought you needed, because we'll assure you, you will use every bit of it.
And you run right from morning till right after sunset?
Oh, yes. We have a bluegrass band the first night of the Jamboree on the 3rd. We have country music the second night. And we have a swimsuit contest and all kinds of things.
I'll be down. All right, it's been nice having you here, Guy. Hopefully your trip home is safe. I know you've got a lot of miles ahead of you. And like I said, hopefully we'll be down very soon.
Well, that'll be great.
All right.
See you all.
See you later.
Bye-bye.